I'm only attracted to women with personality disorders. I understand how challenging they can be, but I only feel attraction to this type of person. Does anyone know how to resolve this? Story 1. It's comfortable. Men and women often date unstable individuals because they are accustomed to instability from childhood or past relationships, which makes them feel more at ease in such environments. Story 2. Everyone is different, but in my case, it was an issue of codependency. Because of my own insecurities, I needed intense emotional and physical engagement to feel validated. My ex had borderline personality disorder and probably narcissistic personality disorder because she drew me in with intense love bombing and manipulated me with inconsistent behavior for years before I understood what was happening and managed to leave. It takes work, but as I've gone through therapy and gained more understanding, I've definitely moved on from this attraction. It has turned into a strong aversion now. Good luck, and I hope you can figure out what is driving this for you. Story 3. Some girls can be unpredictable, while others may have unique interests. The difference is that one might react strongly if not checked on regularly, while the other may be passionate about hobbies such as crafting or anime. Story 4. They begin as a mysterious enigma to be understood. By the time you comprehend it, you are already deeply involved. Story 5. What are your theories on this behavioral pattern? Do you think it's because you have a mindset of wanting to fix them? Or maybe you enjoy the volatility, the highs and lows of being with someone like that? I'm sure once you figure out the core reason, you will be able to solve and stop it, instead of not knowing why and then trying to magically stop this habit. Story 6. In my experience, the extremes of love can be unpredictable. One moment, someone may be deeply in love and going above and beyond, and the next, they may experience intense anger. Following that, they might apologize in a way that feels overwhelming and affectionate. Some individuals fail to recognize this erratic behavior due to stereotypes surrounding emotional expressions. Story 7. My ex had borderline personality disorder. She took therapy and worked really well through it. She still had her anger issues and hypersensitive emotions occasionally. However, she was pretty funny and really easy to talk to because I could express myself without any filter. It was refreshing to say what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it without worrying about tone or being overly politically correct, unlike these apps that try to censor you. You can't say ass anymore. It literally means donkey. It's just slang for butts. Are we still allowed to say butts on other platforms? Anyway, she was a super attractive Asian girl, short and petite with a muscular physique. Why did she have to move across the entire country? I miss her. She was awesome and inspiring. Story 8. Those who have gone through trials and tribulations may have more issues, but they are also keenly aware of the world in a way that a healthy person might be completely oblivious to. There are pros and cons to everything in life. You choose what is suitable for you. Story 9. People with personality disorders can be extremely manipulative. Part of that manipulation involves making you feel very good. Love bombing is one method in which you are inundated with affection and attention early in a relationship, creating a psychological anchor that can be used for coercion. If you have dated multiple women with personality disorders, you may have an unrealistic expectation of what the early stages of a relationship should look like, and you might be evaluating your options based on manipulative experiences. Either way, I suggest seeing a therapist and discussing this with them. Personality disorders can be very unsafe, and it is important for you to relearn how to judge a safe or unsafe relationship. Story 10. In my experience, the extremes of behavior in women can be quite striking. When someone is in a chaotic state, it can be frustrating and sometimes even scary. However, during their affectionate moments, they can make you feel desired and appreciated, which is a rare and wonderful feeling for a guy. While the chaotic behavior can be negative, the level of intimacy, beyond just physical intimacy, can also be very comforting. Story 11. Part of the issue is that they are accustomed to abuse, so it feels familiar. Additionally, at the beginning of the relationship, some red flags may seem like interesting quirks. There is also the factor of a high sex drive. Story 12. I feel people often use the term crazy for women who, if they were male, would simply be labeled as abusive. Story 13. Therapy and working on yourself. There is something within you that attracts you to them. It's up to you to figure out what that is. Story 14. My guess is that the goal or impulse to strive for stability, upward momentum, or to provide for a long-term family unit has not yet kicked in. I think a lot has to do with age and lifestyle, as well as the goals or milestones associated with them. Additionally, maturity level and self-worth development play a significant role. Self-discipline and long-term consequences are not yet in the forefront, leading to the mindset of fun for now won't impact the later me. Story 15. Girls who are understanding do not judge my uniqueness and do not insist that there is something wrong with me because I am autistic. Story 16. I can guarantee that your mother is either borderline or sufficiently traumatized to be a disorganized attacher. Story 17. Maybe you enjoy the emotional energy that it brings into a relationship, making things interesting, while other women may seem boring. Either way, it looks like you are in a tough situation. Consider working on yourself and building your own value so that women who are overly dramatic will recognize your maturity and development. This may encourage them to either step up to be with you or distance themselves due to their insecurities. Story 18. I found that at first, they burn hot like the sun, with great personalities and promise the world. You are love-bombed into oblivion because it's the only way they can get someone to stay. The mask begins to slip, and many inexperienced individuals accept the cycle of abuse due to good sex, codependency, or, in some cases, because they have nowhere else to live at that time. Their abuse can destroy people. I became an alcoholic from dating someone with borderline personality disorder. I will never date people with personality disorders again. It feels like walking through a minefield. I swung to the other side of the spectrum and sought kind people who were safe. I met a lovely girl who healed me, and because of what I had gone through, I hurt her. I made amends years later, and she thanked me. I have been sober for 8 years, broken the cycle of codependency, and now I have a radar for these destructive types of people. I have also realized we crave the intense highs that tumultuous relationships can bring. I just went the other way and connected with nice people, although I ended up having nothing in common with them as we drifted apart. I've learned there are women with whom you know you could form a deep bond, be vulnerable, and grow. Those women are mentally stable, have real chemistry with you, and will respect you. You will feel butterflies around them because you know a genuine connection could form. Your instinct may be to push that potential away and go for chaotic or safe choices, but you must fight for a healthy relationship and remind yourself you are worthy of that type of bond with another person. Story 19. They love-bomb you and are adventurous in bed. It feels liberating because, as a man, you no longer have the burden to lead, make all the effort, and chase. For once, you are the privileged person receiving attention, compliments, and having your sexual fantasies fulfilled instead of standing next to someone unresponsive. Sounds great, doesn't it? But this is a tactic to lure you in. Some women know that men, especially those who are inexperienced, have no chance against these manipulation strategies. They sense what you really want and give it to you. Then, they withdraw it after the initial excitement, expecting you to be their subordinate and toying with your emotions. You'll long for that initial treatment. In my experience, such women are rare. You can meet many women who are abusive and exhibit some of these traits, but not many are fully manipulative. So it's best to enjoy the initial thrill for a week or two if you know what you're doing. However, they should not be taken seriously. If you lack confidence, it's better to avoid such women. Story 20. They can be unpredictable to be with. They have a reputation for being uninhibited in bed, which can be exciting. Story 21. Like women are attracted to bad boys, we often believe our love can fix them or at least resonate with our own complexities. Story 22. The attraction some men feel towards women with strong personalities can be attributed to a variety of psychological, social, and emotional factors. It's important to note that the term crazy is subjective and can be unfairly used to describe women with emotional intensity or mental health challenges. Here are several reasons why some men might be drawn to such women. Story 23. Coming from someone with the same affliction, I can confidently say that your mother or primary female role model was likely struggling with similar issues. Story 24. I believe it is largely because if you have been placed in a position where you must be responsible all the time at your job, as many men are, it can be somewhat relieving to vicariously blow off some steam through a girlfriend who is very expressive with her emotions. Story 25. Maybe you see them as weak or needy. I appreciate clingy, needy women because they make me feel wanted and important. However, there is also something about them that signals, do not commit to this woman. Eventually, you may grow tired of the drama and find comfort in someone a bit more stable. Story 26. I have fallen into that trap before. Every case is different, but my ex had borderline personality disorder. She had her issues, but when I got to know her, I could see the potential she had and thought I could help her. I stopped seeing her about a year ago and told myself I would never do that again. Fast forward to now, I am going on a date with a great and normal woman who has many desirable qualities, and it feels a little strange going out with someone so ordinary. Story 27. I have known people like this, and I do not understand it. Crazy behavior is repulsive to me, and I distance myself as soon as I sense it. An unstable person can ruin your life. No physical attraction is worth that. Story 28. I am attracted to them because it is easier to understand each other when both individuals in the relationship are somewhat troubled. Story 29. Maybe it's because they are comparatively vulnerable or immature in some cases. The last person I was dating broke up with me, saying I am much more mature for my age, that I am too good for him and he doesn't feel deserving. He became frustrated because I am a good listener and do not argue with him but instead try to understand his perspective. He mentioned that he's not used to this. Story 30. Does anyone know how to fix it? In my case, I married one. She disrupted my life twice, and I admit I am a slow learner. The second time was when she wanted a divorce. To be fair, her new fiancé kind of insisted. He turned out to be abusive, and she eventually divorced him too. Thank goodness I was able to obtain and keep custody of the children. Both kids graduated from college without any pregnancies or arrests involved. The children and I all see therapists. My finances and career are disasters of catastrophic proportions, but on the bright side, I no longer find her the least bit attractive. So I guess I managed to fix it. Hope you find a less expensive solution. Story 31. It may be that your prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. From your use of the word girls, I can reasonably infer that you are younger than 30, perhaps even in your late teens or early 20s. You may lack some understanding, but it's not entirely your fault. Many men tend to be immature until we reach around age 30. Story 32. I have a sister who is quite eccentric, and my mom has her moments of overreacting. I dated two unpredictable girls and eventually decided I had enough. Then I met my wife and we only get a little wild in the bedroom. Story 33. It's not that we are attracted to them. It's the fact that I didn't know I was shopping at the crazy mall until I had already purchased my items. I thought I was in a normal store until she threatened to harm herself because I was at work, and it took me 2 hours to text her back. Story 34. Because of two reasons. First, they can be a bit unpredictable and harmful. Second, there is a belief that the best experiences are with those who exhibit erratic behavior. Story 35. You likely grew up in a toxic household where you were accustomed to walking on eggshells. It is possible that you have an undiagnosed mental health issue such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or autism spectrum disorder. Another possibility is that you may exhibit narcissistic traits, which could lead you to attract other individuals with similar personality characteristics. Story 36. In general, it can be enjoyable. They may have more flaws than we do and often have a strong desire for intimacy. This dynamic allows us to have the upper hand in the relationship, which can be dramatic and intense. Many believe they need us. A healthy woman requires a certain caliber of man to match her level, making this challenging and potentially less enjoyable. Story 37. Many men like to be the rescuer, seeking to feel needed. In many cases, this behavior is linked to personality disorders. It may also serve as a safety mechanism, allowing them to engage in destructive behavior that leads to the end of a relationship, enabling them to attribute the breakup to their partner's instability. Story 38. Sometimes certain things cloud people's judgment. Most men just want a woman who brings peace to their lives. A lifelong partner. Story 39. I believe I have an affinity for audacity and am often drawn to the loudest person in the room. While I may be a bit shy, I am very expressive at heart. I find that someone who takes more risks complements my slightly cautious nature. Story 40. I believe we can change them. We want to be seen as the ones who tame them and act like superheroes in their eyes. Story 41. Get into your set of views that make you feel valued in your relationships. I understand the desire to comfort and rescue others, or the passion that can come from a challenging person. Whether it's anxiety or depression where you act as a support or rescuer, or it's someone with trust issues but strong passion, it's important to recognize the pattern. Regardless of the type of challenging relationship you find yourself in, my advice remains the same. Make it clear that you deserve effort in return. Otherwise, the relationship will be temporary. Then hold yourself to that standard. Story 42. Where you shop is where you will make a purchase. You need to resolve your own issues, and that will likely address this matter. Story 43. In my case, I am a little different. So far, I seem to find women with autism, borderline personality disorder, and sociopathy incredibly attractive. It makes sense because I am autistic myself. I am diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 2, but with my drastic mood swings throughout the day and anxious attachment style, I could see it actually being borderline personality disorder, although rapid cycling bipolar disorder would look similar. Borderline personality disorder is commonly misdiagnosed, especially in men, because it is stereotypically seen as a feminine condition. Sociopathy is also similar to borderline personality disorder, as both are classified as cluster B personality disorders. Additionally, autism can mimic cluster B personality disorders, which is a case of similar behaviors for different reasons. Regardless, my symptoms are similar enough that I feel understood and can understand them on a deeper level than those who are considered stable. Have you seen a psychologist? Borderline personality disorder can be particularly attractive because individuals with it tend to be good at mirroring, and their emotions, including love, are heavily magnified. While there is a good chance you may face some toxic behavior, you are likely to experience intense highs in the relationship. Individuals with narcissistic personality disorder can also be appealing because they often come off as very confident. Those with antisocial personality disorder tend to be quite charismatic. I work in mental health, and a psychologist who was mentoring me mentioned that he recognizes a patient is a psychopath when he finds them incredibly likable from the very beginning. Story 44. To be fair, often you do not know what you are signing up for at the beginning. Like a slow-moving train wreck, you always think you can get out of the way quickly enough. Unfortunately, you cannot. Story 45. Because they will let you do anything to them in bed. However, dealing with borderline personality disorder outside of the bedroom is not easy. Story 46. I always realize how crazy it can be when I'm too deep, to be honest. I wish I would finally find someone who isn't difficult to handle. Story 47. I have a soft spot for broken, depressive, or hot-tempered men. I believe it's because we lived in that way, which is why we connect on this level. It's the only way we knew how to love. I once read in a book, like-minded people attract like-minded people. I can't remember who said that. Story 48. I have been told all my life to not feel. Don't cry. Don't show emotion. Don't be sensitive. While I recognize this now as not a viable way to go through life, it's hard to undo 36 years of training. People who have a lot of emotion and react quickly to outside stimuli bring color into my emotionally stunted life. They awaken me, make me feel, and brighten the black canvas of my mindscape with vibrant pastel goodness. Story 49. Recovered girl here, looking for those over 25 who have been to therapy and continue to go. You get the same energy, but with accountability and empathy. Story 50. Intermittent reward might be one of the reasons. It is the same reason gambling is addictive. A person who gives you the best time of your life and then takes it all away can make you addicted to them. Story 51. I have a similar attraction. My ex-wife isn't crazy, but she is narcissistic and toxic. I find myself drawn to women whose first text of the day is "forget you," and who talk about harming me with assault rifles and providing me with euthanasia. Sexually, it isn't really roleplay, but it's also not real threats. It feels darker than roleplay, but not as sinister as a real threat. Story 52. I had an ex with borderline personality disorder. At first, they will mirror and love bomb you. I was young, naive, and unaware of what was happening. I can see why men might be attracted to unpredictable women. It's not my preference, and I wish I had left much sooner. Just be careful, my friend. Story 53. The crazy versus hotness XY plot. Story 54. For me, crazy girls are exciting. You might need a lot of stimulation, so typical women can seem less interesting. Story 55. I don't think it's the crazy part we're attracted to. It just comes as part and parcel with other things. In my experience, those energetic individuals are generally more fun and outgoing. They can be volatile good when they're on a high note and challenging when they're not. Story 56. Therapy. Did you have a family member with mental illness? Did you have a caregiver who struggled with health issues or substance abuse, which made you assume a caretaking role? These are often the factors that attract such dynamics. While spontaneous relationships can be entertaining, they are not suitable for genuine connections. Story 57. If you are like me, it's very simple. Things that are initially exciting often reveal her honesty about being unconventional. She wants to drive all night so we can go to Chicago for the weekend spontaneously. That seems fun and adventurous when you are young and new in the relationship. However, after a few months together, it starts to feel overwhelming. Story 58. I recently realized that since I am fairly introverted, they were the ones who initiated conversations. Because I wasn't going out to find anyone else, they were the only ones available, so I stayed with them out of comfort. Story 59. I find myself drawn to emotionally abusive women who cause me a lot of pain. Why? Familiarity, trauma bonding, we both have our issues, and frankly, the intimacy with them is much more intense because well-adjusted women can feel unengaging in comparison, often wanting sex only infrequently, which is disappointing. I attempt to break this cycle and not be a poor partner, but those women often enjoy making you their emotional punching bag and tearing you apart, regardless of what you do for them. You can pay the bills, provide emotional support, cook, clean, drive them to work, handle the laundry, and yet they may still emotionally mistreat you. You can be an excellent partner who genuinely goes above and beyond, but you will still be treated poorly. I'm ready to give up because I'm exhausted. These experiences have drained me, and I didn't even receive anything in return. Just added emotional baggage and struggles. I've never been married, and as I approach my 40s, I realize that all I've gained is disappointment. It seems I would have made a great partner for someone who never appeared in my life. I feel undervalued, and I'm sick of this situation. No one holds these women accountable, and I suspect they never will. In the end, we don't matter. Story 60. Stay away from that curse. We cannot have another fallen king. Please tell me exactly where you found them so I can avoid that location. Story 61. You sound like my ex. I mean, we definitely have certain qualities that are very likable and endearing. Being adventurous in bed isn't the only one, but it is a huge plus. I don't think there is a way to fix your perceived issue. You might find yourself bored with someone more conventional. Who knows? Test the waters and find out. Best of luck. Story 62. Why would you want to do that? Waking up feels different if you went to bed not knowing if you would make it through the night. Story 63. You are attracted to chaotic women likely because you have your own issues. This attraction can stem from low self-esteem, a tendency to thrive on chaos due to toxic family dynamics, and codependency. Additionally, the presence of chaotic individuals can give you a sense of control, as being with them allows you to appear as the good person or victim in comparison. A rational man with something to lose is unlikely to willingly attach himself to someone perceived as unstable and therefore a liability. The best intimate experiences are typically with someone you are compatible with and who treats you well. Story 64. Am I late? The hot crazy matrix was developed by him. Story 65. I'm the same way. I always have been, even if it was a friendship. I think that says as much about us as it does them. As far as fixing it, marry someone. Let her divorce you and take half. Pay child support for a decade or more, as well as spousal support. That may work. Story 66. I don't know, but about half of them were definitely unusual. Maybe I feel I can comfort them and be a good emotional support for someone who is hurting. It depends on the type of unusual behavior. Story 67. Do any of the types of behaviors that you find attractive reflect dynamics modeled to you by early caregivers, such as parents or other family members? Story 68. I have a savior complex and codependency, which is part of my people-pleaser personality that developed due to emotional neglect in childhood. Helping others satisfies my ego, both in my own eyes and in the eyes of others. Story 69. I have a coworker who has children with someone he knew was unstable. Despite being aware of her behavior, he made that choice. Story 70. Mommy issues, probably. We are attracted to women who are similar to our mothers or to women in media we have been exposed to since early childhood. Story 71. I suffered from this until the day my girlfriend woke me up asking if I tried to kill her. Then I decided it was both healthier and less messy to stop dating altogether. She is bipolar. What I have explored about myself so far is that I hate society in general and I dislike most norms and conventions. However, I am straight and I identify as a man. I find myself feeling like a freak or a creep for rejecting almost everything trending and the people who follow those trends, including women. I always feel marginalized. The options left seem to be women who are troubled. That is the conclusion I reached after some time. I want someone who has been hurt by people and is not willing to socialize in general, at least not beyond very close friends, which I have. I know it's unbelievable. Story 72. Childhood trauma. You learn how to attach to others during the first few years of your life. If you were fortunate enough to have loving and supportive parents, you will typically seek out loving and supportive partners. Growing up in a loving household usually leads to a healthier sense of self-worth and self-esteem, allowing you to choose healthy partners. Conversely, if you grew up in a toxic household, you may struggle with self-esteem and self-worth. Toxic households are often chaotic and unpredictable, which may lead you to seek out similar dynamics in adult relationships. This initiates a cycle of dating toxic partners. Most people are unaware of this unconscious pattern of behavior. Story 73. Because they are interesting and make you feel. Passion is better than boredom, even if it hurts sometimes. Story 74. Insecure individuals often choose people who remind them of past traumatic relationships because that feels comfortable to them. They have consistently gravitated towards such individuals. The prospect of dating someone healthy is foreign and intimidating for them. This phenomenon applies to all humans, regardless of gender. Story 75. Superhero syndrome occurs when you cannot save yourself, so you try to save others, which helps to feed your ego. Additionally, there is Jacob's ladder, allowing you to see yourself in a slightly better light, similar to reality television, where you might think, at least I'm not that bad. Story 76. Because it is intriguing and thrilling for a while, I would advise against seeking that in something long-term. Story 77. Unfortunately, the best cat is often attached to unpredictable women. Also, have you not heard of the crazy hot matrix? Story 78. We're not mentally well ourselves. Okay, I'm not only attracted to unconventional girls, but for some reason, unconventional girls tend to be more appealing to me. It's not just that unconventional equals attractive. It's difficult for me to explain because I don't fully understand it myself. I remember before I started dating my ex, she mentioned something quite unusual, and I thought to myself, why is she so cute right now? I think it was her sadistic smile. That was not a healthy relationship. She had a lot of issues, and so did I. Story 79. Attachment theory suggests that in both insecure attachment styles, anxious or avoidant, the experience of not getting what you want, such as attention from a partner, can trigger an elevated state of anxiety. If you do not break free from this cycle, you may confuse this heightened state of mind and nerves with passion. This explains why some individuals are drawn to problematic partners, while others recognize the dysfunction Those affected often seek excitement over stability. It is only as they gain life experience that they realize they have been stuck in a repetitive cycle with different partners, resulting in the same feelings of unfulfillment, loneliness, and stress. The solution is to recognize this cycle and seek a secure partner who can accept you and provide emotional closeness without either withdrawing or being overly clingy, helping to stabilize your emotions. These behaviors are learned from past relationships, and it takes a healthy relationship to appreciate the difference that safety, security, and intimacy can bring. Story 80. It's not that I'm attracted to them. It's that I'm a magnet for them, and they happen to be the only ones who want anything to do with me. Story 81. Because I am autistic and I have recently learned that love does not have to hurt. This leaves the dating pool consisting of individuals with body fat percentages starting with a 4, a number of children starting with a 4, and people who should be institutionalized. Story 82. I believe it is romanticized that we desire a fun and adventurous woman to keep us engaged in entertainment. Many women often need stability during wild times, and for many men, being needed to support her in any capacity is an appealing prospect. However, the excitement of being with someone unpredictable can only last for so long. Prolonged unpredictability from the same person becomes tiresome. I have spent many years in such a relationship, and my experiences, including the gray hair and evidence from supporting her, attest to that. While it was enjoyable at times, I would prefer a more stable partnership any day. Story 83. Mental trauma is a significant issue. How can it be addressed? It takes time, but spending time with individuals who have experienced less trauma can help. Story 84. I have encountered a mix of both eccentric and rational individuals in my life. Some of the eccentric ones were wonderful, while others were not as enjoyable. The same applies to the rational ones as well. Story 85. Why is it acceptable to phrase the title that way and not receive a single comment about it? Imagine saying, "How come women are attracted to unpredictable guys?" Story 86. It is not that we are. It is that we are conditioned to expect rejection from emotionally stable women with jobs and healthy hobbies. Additionally, most of us cannot tell when someone is interested in us. So we pursue emotionally unstable individuals who practically throw themselves at us or engage in provocative behavior to gain attention from strangers. Story 87. I recently read a theory suggesting that people are attracted to others who are proportionally on the opposite end of the spectrum. For example, an extreme codependent is more likely to be attracted to an extreme narcissist. According to this theory, it may be fair to say that men who choose chaotic partners are likely to be unstable themselves, just on the other side of the spectrum. In this way, they are filtering out matches that would not be desirable. Both these men and women need to focus on personal growth and stability before they can connect with similarly stable individuals. Story 88. Isn't it similar to how the most attractive women are drawn to the bad boys? Perhaps there's excitement in being someone who doesn't follow the status quo. Story 89. Because they are usually the funniest girl in the room, that is at least the reason I have deduced for myself. Story 90. Therapy and exercise can be beneficial. An example of an exercise is to try to get to know more stable women, then list what you are attracted to about them to highlight those qualities for yourself. Don't expect immediate results. It's about changing thought patterns. Consider whether your mother or father was unstable. Many people find themselves attracted to the female version of their father. This often happens because we tend to recreate the relationships we observed during our upbringing. Remember, there is no simple solution. Just know you are not alone. Story 91. I am a person who falls into that category. My ex-wife was someone who definitely needed medication. My late wife took her own life. Most of my exes remind me of Nancy from The Craft or redheads in general. I'm either attracted to Nancy from The Craft or Molly Ringwald. I found someone who is on medication, but she occasionally decides not to take certain pills. You know what happens with depression, antidepressants, and sex drive. Story 92. I feel that I am too rational and deliberate. I am attracted to someone who is my opposite. A spontaneous, free-spirited girl who brings joy to my life. My girlfriend and I appreciate what I wrote down. Story 93. Many men go through a challenging phase with relationships. It's as if I always wanted to touch the wood stove. The heat and glow drew me in. Eventually, the burns taught me not to touch. Story 94. Attraction often varies based on personal preferences. Many people find themselves drawn to individuals who exhibit unique characteristics, while others prefer different traits. It's important to appreciate diverse perspectives on attraction. Story 95. My mom was abusive, unstable, and erratic. I suppose what I seek in a partner is influenced by my past experiences. Story 96. I was an abused child. Being normal was boring to me, so I sought out risky situations because I believed that was the right thing to do. That's basically the short answer. Story 97. I always dislike it for two reasons. One reason is that they might be having a bad day, and the second, which is the most common reason, is that they are struggling with their own issues. Story 98. I've never hated loving anything more in my life. You annoy me, so why do I like it? It beats me. I figured it was just one of those facts of life that you come to deal with over time. Like the fact that the sky is only blue during the day, or the idea of lizard people taking over politicians and news officials and living in the sewers. Nonetheless, that crazy girl hits entirely differently, and that's how they sold me. Story 99. You might have experienced a strongly unstable female influence while growing up, which led you to find some individuals attractive. Story 100. Most likely for the same reason women are often attracted to the man who is not the most stable in a relationship but has that Christian Grey vibe, which brings a thrill. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know anyone, man or woman, who would pursue long-term relationships with either of these cliches. However, it's definitely a common attractive trope for a fun time, and then the issues arise and you regret it. Story 101. I wish I knew. Looking back, I feel like a bull. I see big red flags and run toward them without thinking. Has anyone ever met a normal girl and immediately started second-guessing whether she's crazy or not? Or think that because you're attracted to her, she must be crazy and you just haven't noticed yet? Story 102. The opposite for me. Unpredictable girls scare me. I would rather date a normal girl. Story 103. Exactly as they said, you are in your comfort zone when you are in a chaotic state. Stability feels uncomfortable. It's as if your flight or fight response activates when it should be calm in stability and is absent in chaos when it should be raising alarms. This reversal is often due to childhood trauma, even as early as infancy, from being around frequent arguments or worse, while being totally dependent and trapped in that situation. At some point, you entered a phase of being constantly on alert, and now your reactions to stimuli are all disrupted. Your brain takes a shortcut along the familiar reaction pathway, equating comfort with chaos and stress with stability. Your brain needs to avoid the well-worn path and start forcing reactions that may not come as naturally but are healthier alternatives. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps retrain these responses. If it's just a little unpredictable and not truly chaotic, enjoy yourself. But if it is genuinely chaotic and forms a pattern, consider the advice given. Good luck. I understand what you are going through. Story 104. You attract the trauma you experienced as a child, unfortunately. You don't really realize it until you are about 28 or 29, unless you seek therapy earlier. Story 105. Good for you for noticing and acknowledging that. If you consider yourself boring, exciting people can feel appealing because you get to live vicariously through their adventures. This reflects the stereotype of the manic pixie dream girl. The solution is to cultivate your own version of an interesting life and see yourself as engaging enough. If you had a mother with a personality disorder, women like that may feel familiar, which is something the brain craves. You might also have a subconscious urge to fix them, similar to how some women are drawn to bad boys. This may require therapy to rewire and reframe your attraction. Additionally, learn to appreciate what more stable women have to offer. If you enjoy reading, a valuable but somewhat dense book on this topic is The Erotic Mind by Jack Morin. It delves into the psychology of our attractions and how to address problematic ones. Story 106. Crazy women are wild, fun, and adventurous. Everyone should date a wild woman once. However, it is important to move on from that quickly, as wild women and unstable women can be difficult to distinguish. Both may act impulsively, but one may later share details with your family when upset or react negatively while you are asleep. By the age of 24, you should focus on finding a smart and stable partner to settle down with. Story 107. The explanation I receive from my male friends is that they consider themselves to be very analytical, logical, and stoic, which is often not as accurate as they believe. From their unaware perspective, they desire someone to introduce a bit of chaos and energy into their lives. The reality, however, is that most of those men are not being completely sincere. While societal expectations may discourage them from being emotional and chaotic, they often are. When you combine an unpredictable individual with another who is trying to appear calm, it ultimately leads to an impending conflict. Story 108. I wish I knew. I cannot seem to get excited about a woman who does not have the capacity to ruin my life. Story 109. Because they are interesting. There is nothing worse than a boring woman. A lively woman keeps you on your toes, and it's true what they say about their performance in bed. Excitable women are sexually intense, but it rarely ends well. Story 110. Short answer. Psychological trauma. Long answer. Psychological trauma. To address this, you will need to see a therapist and explore your life experiences to understand how they have shaped your sexual preferences. Honestly, I believe it is natural for men to go through that phase. I have encountered some fascinating and unpredictable women in my life. Mentally unstable women can be intriguing, and many men may find their lack of calmness appealing. However, after dating several of them, you may realize why you prefer to settle down with a more stable partner. Story 111. That's a serious question. However, my suggestion to you is to stop watching pornography, do some trauma work, or engage in a 12-step program like Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, Codependents Anonymous, or Alcoholics Anonymous. Story 112. Therapy and self-work, my friend. Meditation is a great start. Learning about your trauma is important too. Begin with Waking the Tiger by Peter Levine. Story 113. Attachment theory suggests that individuals with insecure attachment styles often seek relationships with others who have similar patterns. In contrast, those with secure attachment styles are typically already in stable partnerships. Story 114. Usually it has to do with staying with what you are used to or, in some cases, thinking you do not deserve better. This is likely due to some childhood experiences. I would recommend working through those if you have them, as it will help you broaden your horizons. Story 115. I believe it's due to your struggles with self-worth. You feel that only a woman with problems will see value in you, which is why you pursue them. Story 116. A couple of reasons. Crazy is fun until it is not. Some people just crave that drama. When it is good, it is great, but when it is bad, it can be downright fatal. You may have had parents with personality disorders, and you seek that out because that is what you have come to know love is. How do you fix it? Start with therapy. It will be a long process, taking years. Story 117. Great question. Here's my perspective from having been there. First, you need to figure out if you are attracted because you think she is gorgeous and has the added bonus of being unpredictable, or if you seek out unpredictability regardless of physical attraction. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be friends with an unpredictable person. You may see a freedom in them that you don't see in others, or a creativity, or a willingness to take risks that is often lacking in most people. However, if you're attracted to beauty combined with a lot of unpredictability, you are either in for the greatest time of your life or you may eventually face serious consequences. Sometimes it can be both. I had a wonderful time with my beautiful, unpredictable girlfriend, but there were moments that were difficult to understand or help her with. She consistently refused to let me into her inner world, repeatedly suggesting that I would lose my mind too. Bottom line, I think for a lot of men, it's the thrill of the chase, but then they often just run away. A friend of mine told me many times, nobody stays. I know I didn't, but we had a great 3 years because I simply got exhausted trying to keep up with the chaotic thoughts in her mind and her tendency to walk away, always making me feel at fault, only to return a week or so later. I couldn't handle that emotional whiplash. The last time I spoke with her, about 20 years ago, she told me she had finally found the guy and was happy. I'm glad she found what she needed, and I learned a tremendous amount from our relationship. I'm very grateful for the time we shared, but I also know that I was never going to be her guy. Oh yes, the intimacy was phenomenal all the time. That part one certainly enjoyed and do miss. Story 118. The relationship lasted 4 years when I was 19. She wanted to explore new experiences, increasing the intensity each year. Towards the end, she identified as bisexual and began spending time with other women. She was a slender athlete with a dancer's build and impressive flexibility. I would wake up to her surprising me in the morning. Then she wanted to shower together so she could relieve herself in front of me. She lacked intelligence. When you are 19 to 22, you believe you have found paradise. My family disapproved of her, except for my father, who completely understood and supported me. Eventually, her unpredictable behavior and her decision to take another 6-month trip to Europe with another woman, to indulge in a fantasy while traveling, provided me the opportunity to end the relationship. I don't remember the arguments about trivial matters, but that 4-year journey into hedonism will stay with me forever. Story 119. For me, I think some of the types I'm into have a bigger overlap with unconventionality on the Venn diagram. Could it be the same for you? Is it the actual unconventionality you're into, or just certain aspects and types that tend to attract a higher percentage of unconventional people? Story 120. Because you know they won't leave you, and you know they won't tell you that you're crazy because they are crazy too. Additionally, if they are obsessed with you, it makes you feel wanted for once in your life since your parents brought you into the world. Story 121. People who say it's comfortable are correct, but it's also more attainable. If she is attractive and has issues, maybe I have a chance. If she is attractive and well-adjusted, I probably do not have a chance. Story 122. Answer that no one wants. They are more likely to interact with you and thus gain your attention initially. They may also have higher levels of hormones released if they are experiencing mental health issues. Combined with being outgoing and engaging with you, this means you have someone who fits 2 of the most important factors for dating and relationships. Story 123. As a man, I like to provide. I've noticed that I tend to date women who have issues with their fathers. I see this as a desire to provide and be the man they want. However, when I talk to women whose fathers were actively involved in their lives, I find it challenging to provide for them because it feels like I am competing with their fathers. That might explain why I am drawn to women with more complex backgrounds. Story 124. Lack of option diversity because most single women can be unpredictable. Additionally, women who are more adventurous in nature are often seen as more passionate in intimate situations. It seems that personal experiences can influence one's approach to relationships or intimacy. Story 125. Women chase their fathers and men chase their mothers. I have a crazy mom and a crazy girlfriend. My brother married a wild girl who dominates him. She decided to marry him, and that was that. I doubt he had a say in the matter. Mom doesn't like her that much because they have too much of the same energy. Although I am mostly attracted to wild girls, I have enough insight into myself to avoid them. If I am attracted to a girl, I know she's probably unstable. I also have an uncanny ability to provoke anyone to the point of snapping. Unstable girls can't hide it from me. I'll say something and suddenly they erupt. Then I get out of there. There's just something alluring about untamed women. They're like Venus flytraps, but you won't catch me in their trap. I know that the nectar isn't worth it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.